I never thought my own family would sell my house behind my back. It was the one place I had spent years building, protecting, and filling with memories. Every wall had a story. Every room held something that belonged to the life I had created. But one ordinary morning, I came home and discovered that my family had made a decision about my home without telling me. They had signed papers, made plans, and believed I would simply accept what they had done. What they didn't know was that I had kept every important document connected to that house. And when I finally uncovered the truth, the people who thought they had taken everything from me realized they had made one enormous mistake. Welcome to Quiet Life Stories, where ordinary people face extraordinary family struggles, hidden secrets, betrayal, forgiveness, and second chances. Today's story is about a woman named Laura, who spent years building a home for her family, only to discover that the people she trusted most had secretly tried to sell it behind her back. Stay until the end, because what Laura discovered about the house changed everything. My name is Laura Bennett, and for 22 years, my house was more than just a building. It was my home. I bought it when I was 34 years old. Back then, it was a small, outdated house on a quiet street in an American town. The kitchen was tiny. The floors were scratched. The backyard was overgrown. But I saw potential. I remember standing in the empty living room with my husband, Mark, holding the keys for the first time. "We finally have our own place," I said. Mark smiled. "Our children will grow up here." And they did. Our two children, Ethan and Lily, spent their childhood running through those rooms. There were birthday parties in the backyard, Christmas mornings beside the fireplace, school photographs on the staircase, family dinners around the kitchen table. There were arguments too. There were difficult years. There were moments when money was tight. But no matter what happened, that house remained our safe place. Then, when my children were adults, my husband passed away unexpectedly. Suddenly, the house felt enormous. Every room reminded me of him. His favorite chair was still beside the window. His books were still on the shelf. His coffee mug was still in the kitchen cabinet. I thought about selling the house many times. But I couldn't. It wasn't just a house. It was the last place where our family had truly been together. My daughter Lily understood that. My son Ethan didn't. Ethan had moved to another state for work. He visited occasionally, but he wasn't emotionally attached to the house. One evening, he called me. "Mom, have you ever thought about selling the house?" I was surprised. "Why? It's worth a lot of money now." "I know. You could move somewhere smaller." I laughed. "Maybe one day." He became quiet. Then he said, "You should think about it." I didn't realize at the time how important that conversation would become. A few months later, Lily called me. "Mom, Ethan has been asking about the house again." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "He thinks you should sell it." I felt uncomfortable. "It's my house." "I know. Then why is he so interested?" "I don't know. I trusted my children. That was my mistake. I believed they were simply worried about me. I didn't imagine that something was happening behind my back." Then one morning, I received a phone call from a woman I didn't know. She asked, "Are you Laura Bennett?" "Yes." "Do you own the property on Maple Street?" "Yes." There was an awkward pause. "I think you should know that someone has been discussing selling your property." My heart started racing. "What?" The woman explained that she worked in real estate. She had been contacted about the house. Someone had apparently presented information about the property and discussed a possible sale. But there was a problem. I hadn't listed my house. I hadn't authorized anyone to sell it. I ended the call and immediately contacted my daughter. "Lily, what's going on?" She sounded nervous. "Mom, what do you mean?" "Someone is trying to sell my house." Silence. Then she said, "I was going to tell you." My stomach dropped. "What were you going to tell me?" She took a breath. "Ethan thinks we should sell the house." Yes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I never agreed to sell my house. "I know. Then why is anyone talking to a real estate agent?" Lily started crying. "Mom, I'm sorry." I asked her directly, "Did you sign anything?" She didn't answer. That silence told me enough. I called Ethan. He didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. Finally, he sent me a message. "Mom, we need to talk." I replied, "Yes, we do." That evening, Ethan called. His first words were, "Mom, we're trying to help you. By selling my house, you don't need such a big place anymore." I couldn't believe it. You don't get to decide that. Mom, the house is worth a fortune. And, you could sell it and divide the money. Divide, yes. I became completely silent. Then I asked, why would we divide the money from my house? He said, because we're your children. I felt tears in my eyes. You're my children. That doesn't mean you own my home. He became defensive. We thought you would eventually leave it to us anyway. I stared at the phone. Eventually. That was the word that explained everything. They weren't thinking about my life. They were thinking about what they would receive after me. But the situation was worse than I realized. The next morning, I went through my important documents. I found the original property deed. I found the mortgage records. I found the insurance documents. And I found something else. A copy of an authorization document that I had never signed. Someone had apparently attempted to use my name to discuss the property. I immediately contacted a lawyer. After reviewing everything, the lawyer looked at me seriously. Don't sign anything. I wasn't planning to. Good. We need to find out exactly what happened. The investigation began. There were emails, phone records, messages, and eventually, we discovered that Ethan had been talking to a buyer. He had told the buyer that the family was preparing to sell the property. He had even discussed an estimated price. But there was one thing Ethan didn't know. The house was legally in my name. He couldn't simply sell it. The documents protected me. When I confronted him again, he finally admitted everything. I thought you would agree eventually. Eventually, yes. You planned everything before asking me. He looked down. I thought you were being selfish. I couldn't believe those words. Selfish, yes. I looked around the room. This house is the only thing I have left from your father. He became quiet. I continued. You wanted to sell the place where you grew up without even asking me. I know. No, you don't know. I was crying now. You didn't just try to sell a house. You tried to take away my right to decide what happens to my own life. For the first time, Ethan looked ashamed. Lily came to my house that evening. She hugged me. Mom, I'm sorry. I asked, why didn't you stop him? She started crying. Because I was scared of losing my brother. I understood her fear, but I told her, you shouldn't have to choose between your brother and the truth. The attempted sale eventually collapsed. The buyer withdrew. The paperwork was cancelled, and my house remained mine. But the emotional damage was harder to repair. For months, Ethan barely spoke to me. Then one afternoon, he came to my door. He stood there quietly. Can I come in? I nodded. He walked into the living room and looked around. He saw the old photographs. His childhood pictures. His father's chair. The marks on the wall where he had once measured his height. He sat down. I was wrong. I didn't answer. I thought about money more than I thought about you. He looked at me. I forgot that this was your home. I finally said, that's what hurt. He nodded. I thought I was entitled to it. You aren't. I know. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I believed that he was truly sorry. But forgiveness didn't happen immediately. I needed time. I needed to trust him again. Eventually, we began rebuilding our relationship. Slowly, one conversation at a time. I didn't sell the house. Instead, I renovated a few rooms. I painted the kitchen. I repaired the old wooden floors. And I kept my husband's chair exactly where it had always been. One Sunday afternoon, Ethan came over with his wife and children. His little daughter ran through the backyard. Grandma, look, I smiled. For the first time in months, the house felt like a family home again. Ethan stood beside me. Mom, yes, I'm glad you kept it. I looked at him. So am I. Then he said something I will never forget. I thought the house was something we would inherit. I smiled sadly. It was never about inheritance. He looked at me. It was about having a place where we could still come home. He hugged me. And this time, I hugged him back. That experience taught me something I will never forget. Sometimes family members don't realize how deeply their actions can hurt us. They may think they're making practical decisions. They may think money is more important than memories. They may convince themselves they're entitled to something simply because they are family. But family doesn't give anyone the right to control another person's life. And a house is never just a house. For some people, it represents years of sacrifice. For others, it represents the last connection to someone they lost. For Laura, that house represented a marriage, 2 children, countless memories, and a lifetime of love. Her family almost took it away. But they couldn't take away something even more important. Her strength. She learned to stand up for herself without destroying her family. She learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And she learned that sometimes saying, no, is necessary, even when the people asking are the people you love most. If you have ever been betrayed by someone in your family, remember this. You are allowed to protect what belongs to you. You are allowed to set boundaries. And you are allowed to say no without feeling guilty. Because loving your family doesn't mean giving them control over your life. Laura's family tried to sell her house behind her back. They thought they were taking a valuable property. But in the end, they almost lost something much more valuable. Their mother's trust. Thankfully, they realized their mistake before it was too late. And perhaps that is the real lesson of this story. A home is built with bricks and wood, but a family is built with trust. Once trust is broken, rebuilding it takes much longer than rebuilding a house. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Quiet Life Stories for more emotional family stories, betrayal stories, life lessons, and stories about forgiveness and second chances. And remember, sometimes the people closest to us can hurt us the most, but that doesn't mean we have to let their actions destroy the rest of our lives.